There was 1 month before Cosmoverse happened. We spoke on this channel live also 3 days before Cosmoverse happened. Cosmoverse happens. They announced the Atom 2.0 white paper, this new vision for the Cosmos Hub. And a couple of weeks later, it goes on chain and the community rejects it. What were your emotions? What did you think? Because obviously, you wrote this super bullish report on Atom, and now this Atom 2.0 thing doesn't go through. What were your thoughts, and what was your initial response?
Yeah, I was extremely disappointed. I thought it had a chance of passing. I think it was around quorum, and then I believe like 1 or 2 main entities came out and just hammered it with no veto and just killed the entire proposal. But like the whole thing was so exciting and interesting. Like they built this whole ecosystem around the idea that Atom's going to give value and to do it in these certain ways. And it was more of a vision than something that can be put into practice. And I think that's kind of where it failed. Not to mention the fact that it was going to increase inflation substantially, and some of the major holders really didn't like that. At the same time, like just thinking about like the different people in the cosmos and all the different ideas, like you have everything from anarchists to communists to hyper capitalists, environmentalists, and all those things conflict. It's really hard to have like a unified vision from all these different parties, and so that kind of carried through to like how that inflation was going to be spent. Everyone discussed like, okay, like we're gonna have this huge budget to spend on different projects and different tooling, but then it's like, okay, who's gonna decide how that actually gets allocated? Like, who's gonna be the bag man? And that's always the inside secret for these projects or for these VC funds or these like low use funds. It's like there's an agency problem within them where it's the people who are able to disperse them have a lot of power. Sometimes aren't always the most trustworthy individuals and give them to their friends. So a lot of the community was I think rightfully upset about that, and it was really concerned how that would go. Not to mention, if you think about all the business lines, how those would work in practice, right? Again, great vision, like practical perhaps. Like think about the allocator, the scheduler, and interchain security. Like how is that really going to work? Like how are you going to have like all these ecosystems coordinate MEV for the scheduler? Like how are you going to see interchain security actually work in practice? Like compare like how Polkadot thought about onboarding parachains, very similar project, right? Very similar product where they're just sharing security. Like there was a lot of thought putting the community votes on them. There's a specific number of slots. Here's how the functionality works. Here's how data availability works, right? Versus Cosmos, it's like, hey, we're going to do this, we do that, but we're not really sure how it's going to quite work in practice. So like, I think like going from 30,000 feet to like ground level has been like the biggest challenge for Cosmos.
Were you more disappointed that Atom 2.0 failed because of the actual technical roadmap and all the items on it, or because of the drama and like all these debates? And I mean, it got really ugly. I agree. Like that was not nice. Like what were you more or what was the main reason you were disappointed?
I was just disappointed because there's just so many smart people and so many high potential projects and so many interesting things that could be done that weren't done. And so I think the problem was kind of like the underpants gnome paradigm, where it's like first we have a good idea, next is question marks, and then third is profit, right? And so it's like that's kind of where Cosmos kind of fell. There was nowhere to do all the different things. Like that's kind of why people sometimes like having an entity that can coordinate these things. It has like a top-down vision and it executes it. Like so then you see like an Avalanche or Polygon. Like as much as like those ecosystems have their issues, like they do have a unified vision and they do have a way in which they're implementing their policy decisions. Versus like in Cosmos, it's kind of like, okay, like what are the next steps? Like how do you get there? And that's like the question mark part, which I think like really just didn't work out as well as people thought it. People thought maybe people would step up. There's tons of smart, cool builders, but at the same time though, what that unified paper did was it asserted an interesting vision and brought people on board. So as much as like it sucked and it was a failure to the extent that it didn't pass and we don't have all the things we want like yesterday, like if you look at like the sheer developers in this space, the Cosmos has been winning, right? Cosmos has been bringing more people in. And so like that's been like hugely positive for the ecosystem. So if you're like a Cosmos maxi, like it's been I think, really cool, just because it showed like what's possible. But if you're an Atomaxi, it hasn't been as exciting because it hasn't improved value token, and token has not gone up as some of us had supposed.
Okay, yeah, there's some interesting things. I mean, I have some different views on those things, but obviously, I'm also very, very deep in Cosmos. Like, and I'm a very positive and bullish person overall. But it's good to hear that feedback. And for some things, you actually talk my mind here, because I feel like the biggest weakness of Cosmos, specifically the Cosmos Hub, but even the ecosystem itself, is that the fact that it is so fragmented. There is not one organization that runs everything, that dictates the roadmap, that runs all the conferences, does all the events. The fact that Cosmos doesn't have that is also its biggest weakness, because there is no unified direction, no clear vision. Execution is much slower, right? Everything has to pass through governance, and you have so many parties involved. So it's really complicated. But I think also that makes it maybe more sustainable in a sense, because it is more real and more authentic, right? You just mentioned like other ecosystems, they're launching these new visions, right? Polygon with their 2.0. I think a lot of the announcements that Polygon made in their Polygon 2.0 kind of vision were just like rephrasing or like renaming some of the already existing things that are out there, right? Like shared security concepts or ultrasound money from Ethereum. I think they call it hypersound money or something like that. Like, I think that's something like that Cosmos is really, really bad at, especially the Cosmos Hub. Yeah.